I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal. Lisa came with a few toys like a Happy Meal.
You know, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. You know, I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with? with the chief commander. On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Nous avons été voir le concert, c'est comme ça. Un pape aux yeux injectés de sang qui appelle à la violence. Un Christ représenté par un singe. Des hordes barbares armés de matraques en forme de croix. Ces images de blasphème sont tirées d'un clip de Marilyn Manson. Pour ceux qui ne le connaissent pas, ce chanteur américain est un des plus gros vendeurs de disques dans le monde. Star chez les ados, ce provocateur né multiplie dans ses chansons les références au satanisme. Il a fait du rejet du christianisme un véritable business.
Mon âme au diable, mon pouvoir est formidable, mais le diable est sans secours pour le jeu contre l'amour.
L'architanique musicale, l'architanique musicale.
Il y a beaucoup d'esprits de contradictoires dans mes textes, d'esprit de contradictoires dans mes textes, d'esprit de contradictoires, d'esprit de contradictoires, d'esprit de contradictoires dans mes textes,
Ah, j'aimerais bien être franc-maçon.
Pour la plupart des gens, c'est pas évident. Hein. Sur la planète, il y a une élite. Comme je dis, la population, le peuple, tout ça, on est un peu du combustible. Hein.
J'ai demandé au chétan la route de l'enfer. Imagine qu'on a droit au vide et continue jusqu'au milliardaire.
Frère, j'ai beau tout faire, personne ne me recrute. Sans trop de Lucifer, c'est des buts de Belzébuth. Le ciel ne répond pas, Chétan a fait le premier pas. Les traîtres et ma chaîne en roro me tirent vers le bas. Ouais, je suis mauvais, maudit comme ce saut mort. Gore, si tu nous vois danser, c'est que le juge d'instruction est mort. Un automatique sorti du liquide amniotique. Oh, clic, prends ça comme un faire-part. Tu veux me stopper, cherche pas, je suis déjà au sommet comme un Sherpa. Oh, clic, prends ça comme un faire-part. Tu veux me stopper, cherche pas, je suis déjà au sommet comme un Sherpa. Oh, clic, prends ça comme un faire-part. Tu veux me stopper, cherche pas, je suis déjà au sommet comme un Sherpa. Oh, clic, prends ça comme un faire-part. Tu veux me stopper, cherche pas, je suis déjà au sommet comme un Sherpa.
Now, I gotta know something. What's the main reason for rock music? Come on, Lance, you know what the reason is. Please, David, I don't want to guess. Tell me what the main reason is. He says the same as when you were in, so that we can play spells on people.
If your ultimate goal is to be famous, then you're gonna do a lot to get there. Like sign your name in blood in a contract with the devil. Like you're gonna end up on a one-way street and it's going nowhere. Like that's just the truth. I've seen so many people like forsake their moral code and their value systems just for a little bit of fame, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. It's really not worth it.
I got him away from this witch that he had with him. He told her to go shopping. We were in West Hollywood and I was witnessing around to people I knew. We went off in this store and we started talking. I said, David, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. I said, I already know the answers, but I've been gone for 5 years. I'd like to know if certain things are still the way they were when I left.
Pussy ass niggas stop hating.
chick got that fire. And these hoes love me like Satan, man. Yeah. Like Satan, like Satan, like Satan, like Satan, like Satan, like Satan, man. Yeah. Fuck with me.
Viens Satan, on nous attend, partons droit devant. Viens Satan, allons-nous-en, j'ai pas le temps.
We are superior, and we are superior not by ethnic means, but by the superior force of the will, the imagination, the creativity, and the very essence of resourcefulness and survival that is the heart and the very soul of the Satanist. Be with us tonight. Place us in a position of sovereignty that we might look down upon our inferiors.
Wounds on my back, I got thorns on my head. My fangs are sharp and my eyes are red. Not quite an angel or the one that fell. Not choosing China, so go straight to hell. Hard rock, hallelujah. Hard rock, hallelujah. Hard rock, hallelujah. Hard rock,
Des milliers d'ados se revendiquent adorateurs du diable, adorateurs du diable, adorateurs du diable, diable.
Je peux bien vendre mon âme au diable. Je peux bien vendre mon âme au diable. Avec lui on peut s'arranger.
Roman is a crazy boy who lives in me, and he says the things that I don't want to say. He was born, just a few months ago. I think he was born out of rage. He was conceived in rage. So he bashes everyone. He threatens to beat people, and he's violent.
That must be nice to have, like, an ignorant loudmouth who you can just sort of blame every...
He wants to be blamed. I don't want to blame him. I ask him to leave, but he can't. He's here for a reason. People have brought him out. People conjured him up. Now he won't leave.
The greatest thing was being on stage and having the control, the awe of being worshipped, and having folks just really look at you and say, wow, I want to be that.
As leader of a heavy metal band, Kirk Martin projected an angry, wild image on stage.
And getting just thousands of people to scream profanities, that was the biggest rush for me.
Offstage, people just found him mean.
I was so filled with hate that I would project that hate at a lot of people. Two of the band members, when we were on the road, just decided they were just sick of me and they couldn't take me anymore. And they actually decided to leave the band.
But the message in Kirk's music captured the minds of his young audience.
My whole intention was to tell people to believe in yourself, follow your own visions, your own dreams, and crush whoever's in your way.
Kirk had no illusions about where his growing success came from.
I got on the ground and I clawed the earth. I told Satan, I said, if you give me what I want, if you make me a god, if you give me the women and the drugs and the fame and everything, and you give me the power to crush people, I will serve you until the end of time. Within 2 days, I was offered a recording contract.
While Kirk pushed for fame and fortune, he tried to keep a secret bottled up inside.
A couple of older boys in the neighborhood started molesting me and sodomizing me when I was probably about 8. It happened more than once, and I never talked about it. I never told anybody about it.
Later, taking advantage of women sexually became part of Kirk's heavy metal lifestyle.
The worst part about my molestation was the fact that I, in turn, went out and violated others.
Then, just as he was about to sign the record deal for which he'd sold his soul, he had an encounter with a mysterious stranger.
One morning at about 9 o'clock, I went into a small cafe, and this guy came and sat down right across from me. Out of all the places he could have sat, there were plenty of seats open. And immediately I looked at him with this horrible, mean-looking look on my face, and I said, "What's happening, Dad?" And he stopped stirring his coffee again and looked at me right in the face, and he said, "What's happening, Dad?" I jumped across the table and I put my nose right up to his, stared him in the eye, and I just cursed him. I called him every foul thing I could think of. And he said, "God sent me here to tell you that he loves you. And God wants you to know that he was not responsible for the young men that molested you when you were a young child." And the thing that was so mind-blowing about that is he used their names. And he said, "Jesus is waiting for you to turn your face towards home." And I jumped up and chased after him, and he went around the corner of the building, and into thin air he disappeared.
Not long after that, Kirk was sleeping in his band's tour bus when it shook violently in the middle of the night.
Suddenly, it was like this big shining spotlight came down from heaven, and the Spirit of God himself came into the bus. And I didn't know why I hated God so much. Everything just slipped away, and the only thing I felt was love. I felt accepted. I felt like I was that little boy again before I got molested. I said, "Jesus, change me or destroy me, because I don't want to be this anymore." I realize now that in the presence of God, sin and hate and ugliness there's no room for it. It has to leave, and all these things began to leave my heart.
Kirk cried himself to sleep, and when he woke up the next morning, everything seemed different.
The grass was greener, the sky was fluffier, the clouds were beautiful, and I was different.
Kirk never signed the contract for the heavy metal record deal.
I had everything in my hand, everything I'd ever wanted, just sitting right there, and all of a sudden I didn't want it anymore. And I left everything and never went back.
Kirk found a church in his hometown and began to grow as a Christian. A Christian counselor also urged him to seek out the young men who had molested him and forgive them.
I did find them. "I don't know if you remember me or not." And I said, "Why did you do this to me?" And then they began to tell me the story of how someone had violated them. The one young boy, how he had found a pornography magazine, and that's what led him to abuse me and then invite the other boy to abuse me. They had given their hearts to Christ. We sat down and we cried and we hugged and we talked about it and we prayed. That's how I got past all that.
Over time, he found his musical talent moving in a new direction, writing and performing worship songs. He and his family travel around the country sharing the miracle that changed Kirk's life.
My wife is just a treasure. My family is the greatest testimony of God's mercy and God's grace, because I thought I would never have such a wonderful blessing. Once I started to realize that God wasn't out to get me, I started to see the blessings. I was addicted to drugs and sex and violence and hatred and used music as a tool to destroy people. And then God turned all that around for His glory.